Hey Toy fans, D21 Beast Rob here, and we are blasting back to 1996 for today's review. We're looking at the X-Men Classics Light-Up Weapon Juggernaut figure. This is a figure that I had as a kid. This was my Juggernaut figure I had as a kid. I didn't have any other Juggernaut toys. And it's a sentimental piece that I've long since waited to be reunited with. As I said, this is the Light-Up Juggernaut. This figure actually has batteries inside that are supposed to be able to make his hammer accessory, you know, that hammer that Juggernaut's totally not known for having, light up. There's no Try Me feature on the packaging, so I'm kind of hoping this figure still works after all these years. But we'll find out about that in just a bit. Let's take a quick look at the back of the packaging. In the upper left, there's an image of Juggernaut complete with light-up hammer and disembodied left hand. Always remember, safety first when playing with tools, kids. Below that is a bio that explains Juggernaut is an unstoppable force of superhuman strength, unless you manage to get his helmet removed. Then below that we have a complete lineup of all the X-Men figures that were available at the time from Toy Biz, including figures based off of Age of Apocalypse, Generation X, X-Men 2099, and of course, this very wave of light-up weapon X-Men action figures. Alright Toy fans, well that's the packaging. Let's say we get this light-up warrior out of the box and see what he's all about. And here he is out of the packaging, Toy fans. As you can see, this Juggernaut's got some rather large arms about him. But proportion issues aside, I actually like the sculpting for this figure. There's nicely detailed musculature on the torso for this figure. The sculpted musculature detail on the back of this figure is equally inhuman. The arms for this figure have some pretty gnarly sculpted veins. But interestingly, whatever the core plastic is that these arms are made from has been completely covered in a flesh tone paint, as well as the brown paint that's been employed for his bands of Sidorak. A nice detail that I like on the front of this figure is that silver paint has actually been applied for the bolts that hold on his helmet, and that helmet is actually removable. Underneath reveals a pretty intense screaming Cain Marko head. And again, we run into some proportion issues here as the head looks really tiny compared to the rest of his body. But that's not unlike how he's been drawn in the comics, so I can't really fault Toy Biz for that. Now aside from the removable helmet that we already looked at, this Juggernaut also comes with a light-up weapon. As you can see here, the weapon is actually sculpted pretty nicely and even has some paint detail. I like the skull detail that's been sculpted on this hammer, as well as the sculpted detail of the flame light bulb. This hammer has a pin on the bottom of it with a contact point that fits into the left hand of this Juggernaut figure. Once you've secured the hammer in place, there's actually a switch on the back of the Juggernaut figure that you'll have to apply a bit of pressure to actually make the hammer light up. However, once pressed, the hammer does actually glow a little bit. Now, this is before the days of LEDs and action figures, so it's not that bright, but let me turn some lights out and try that again. There we go. Nice and menacing. And in case you're curious, no, the batteries from 1996 did not still work in this figure. I had to make a trip to Walgreens. Now, articulation-wise, Juggernaut's joints are pretty common for the era. He does have a head that'll look left and right. His right arm will rotate all the way around, however his left arm will only rotate so far back, likely due to the electronic function of the arm. No waist rotation at all, again probably because of the electronic function, but his legs will bend forward about that far, they'll bend back to about standing position, single jointed knee, and that's really all you've got. And it took Toy Biz 5 years to give us an updated Juggernaut figure, so here he is compared to the original Juggernaut figure from Series 1 of the X-Men wave from 1991. And just to show you how 20 years can make a big difference, here we have the 96 Juggernaut from Toy Biz compared to last year's 2016 Build-A-Figure Juggernaut from Hasbro. And of course, here he is compared to the 6-inch scale Marvel Legends Infinite Series Wolverine. Look at those arms! What are ya? Juggernaut or a gorilla? I'm an action figure! You got me there, bub. Alright Toy fans, well that's my review of the Light Weapon Juggernaut figure released by Toy Biz in 1996. It's hard for me to rate this figure objectively, so I'll just say if you do see him at convention, you'll probably want to make sure you find a mint on card before you pick him up. Finding this figure without his helmet and his hammer just isn't going to be the same. But what do you think, Toy fans? Thanks for joining me today for this review. You guys can always keep up with me on Twitter and Instagram at D21Beast, and I'll see you guys next time.